There's a man in your life who does not wait to be asked. The pipe starts leaking, he is already under the sink. The car makes a sound, he has already lifted the hood. The shelf comes loose, he has already found the drill. Nobody called him, nobody sent a message, he just noticed. And then he moved. You have seen this man. You might be this man. And the question nobody has stopped to ask is, why?
Because it is not about the pipe. It is not about the shelf or the car or the broken thing on the table. There is something operating underneath all of it. Something built, something earned, something that most people never develop, and a few men never lose. Today, we go inside that psychology. Welcome back. This is where we go deep into human psychology, the patterns, the science, the things most people never stop to examine. Subscribe if you are new. Let us get into it. In the late 1970s, psychologist Albert Bandura identified something he called self-efficacy. Not confidence in a general sense, something far more specific than that. It is the deep internal belief that when something is broken, you are capable of being the one who fixes it. And Bandura found that this belief alone changes everything. How long a man stays with a hard problem before walking away. How much effort he puts in when it stops being easy. How he carries himself when the outcome is uncertain. Men who fix things without being asked did not wake up one day with this belief. They built it, one solved problem at a time. Think back to the first time a man like this actually fixed something. Something small. Something that had no business working after he touched it. He wiggled the wire and the lamp turned on. He tightened the bolt and the wobble stopped. He stayed with it when anyone else would have quit. And in that moment, something shifted. Not in the lamp, in him. Suddenly the world was not something that just happened to him. It was something he could reach into and change. Psychologists call these moments mastery experiences, and research consistently ranks them as the single most powerful source of self-efficacy there is. Not being told you are capable, not watching someone else do it, doing it yourself. That is the thing that sticks. There is also a concept called locus of control, studied by psychologist Julian Rotter. It describes the degree to which a man believes his own actions determine the outcome. Not luck, not other people, him. Men who sit firmly on the internal end of that scale, the ones who believe their effort actually matters, are less likely to develop depression. They cope with stress in ways that do not involve falling apart. They persist longer when things get hard. The man who fixes things without being asked is not just solving a problem. He is reinforcing every single time that the world responds to his effort, and that belief changes how he moves through everything else. People misread these men constantly. They see the self-sufficiency and assume it means he does not want help. They see the quiet focus and read it as coldness. They see him move toward a problem and think it is stubbornness. It is not any of those things. What they are actually seeing is a man who has built an internal world where difficulty is not a signal to retreat, where broken is not a permanent condition, where the gap between not working and working is one of the most interesting places he knows. That is not stubbornness. That is a philosophy, and most people spend their entire lives never developing it. Most men who operate this way did not figure it out alone. There was someone there. A father in a garage, an older man who handed over a tool and waited, a mentor who showed instead of explained. No lesson plan, no curriculum. What was being passed down was not technical information. It was a relationship to difficulty, a way of being with a problem that did not involve walking away from it. This is why this kind of competence becomes identity. When a skill is learned in the presence of someone who mattered, it carries emotional weight that no tutorial can ever replicate. The first real problem a man solved with his own hands is remembered with a specificity that is almost biographical, not because of the problem, because of what it proved. Here is something that almost never gets talked about. When a man who operates this way is overwhelmed, when work is uncertain, when life feels like it is moving without him, he does not always talk about it. He finds something broken. He works on it. And what looks from the outside like avoidance is actually something else entirely. Working on something real is one of the last remaining places where a man can be completely and verifiably right. Did the meeting go well? Hard to say. Was the decision correct? Depends who you ask. But something that was not working and now is, that is not a matter of interpretation. The feedback is absolute. For a man who spends most of his time in environments of uncertain outcome and subjective evaluation, that clarity is not just satisfying, it is stabilizing. Here is the truth about these men. They are not fixing things because they need to be the hero. They are not doing it to be noticed. They are not even always doing it for you. They are doing it because somewhere along the way, in a garage, in a difficult moment, beside someone who handed them a tool and trusted them with it, they made a decision. That difficulty was not something to walk away from. That a broken thing was worth understanding. That their effort, their patience, their hands, their willingness to stay actually mattered. And they have been proving that to themselves ever since.
You probably know a man like this, or you are one. And if nobody has said it to you directly, the way you move toward what is broken instead of away from it says everything about who you are. It was never really about the thing you fixed. It was always about what kind of man you decided to become. Drop a comment. Are you someone who fixes things without being asked? Or do you know a man like this in your life? Tell me what landed. I read every single one. See you in the next one.